You start to lose track of time up here. Not because I'm sleep deprived, though I am. Not because the sky's been gray for days, though it has. But because the world outside doesn't move anymore. No traffic, no planes, no music, no distant dogs barking. Just rain and wind and me. I've been camping on the roof of Nada Tunnel for a week now. Maybe longer. Hard to say. I only come down to piss and scavenge. Most nights I climb back into the Corolla, close the doors, and fire up the rig I pieced together from the old broadcast shack and what's left of the antenna. It's ugly, but it transmits, and it listens. And every night I do the same thing. Check the batteries, whisper a few words into the mic, and start flipping through the static. That static used to drive me nuts. Now it's like a blanket. Sometimes I pretend it's people talking, like a crowd murmur from some old memory of mine that used to comfort me. But last night, that static changed, cracked, shifted, opened, and then I heard it. A loop, a soldier's voice, tired, worn, clear. This is Sergeant Cline, National Guard, Tomahawk region. Coordinates unstable, requesting contact with any higher command. Civilians may be present. Extraction orders required. Over. I stopped breathing, played it back, looped again. Same voice, same pace, slight glitch halfway through. Real, human. I scrambled to record it, adjusted the gain, tweaked the dial, locked in the frequency. It wasn't bouncing off the atmosphere like some old loop. It was local, maybe 20, 30 miles out max. I sat there all night just listening. When dawn broke, I started driving. Didn't pack much. Just some water, a couple vapes, the Glock, a knife, and whatever food I hadn't already eaten. Left the second gas can behind to save weight. Wasn't thinking straight. The Corolla groaned the whole way. Tires slap pin broken pavement. Mirrors shaken. Radio crackling with Sergeant Cline's voice on repeat. Got worse in Inez. Zombies in the streets. Packs of them. Some moving like they didn't even see me. Others staring. I had to kill the lights, kill the engine, coast in neutral and hide behind a burned-out Dollar General for an hour. Almost pissed myself when one brushed the window. I kept going. The voice grew stronger. Through Tomahawk, I had to weave through a flooded road and crawl under a wrecked ambulance to avoid another horde. I laid still in the mud for what felt like forever. My back cramped. My fingers went numb. One of them sniffed the air, but they moved on. And then I saw it. A burned-out gas station on the edge of a mountain trail. Crushed Humvee beside it. Doors open. Bullet holes in the side. The whole place reeked of smoke and blood and long-gone fire. But the signal? It was strongest there. The rest of the way was on foot. I found the first notch in a pine tree just past the pump station. Then another, and another. Looked like someone had been marking the trail. Not random, measured, intentional. This is Sergeant Cline. I played the recording again. Follow the creek that curves like a question mark. You'll hit a rusted gate. Listen for wind chimes. I started walking. Didn't speak. Didn't think. Just followed the trees. And somewhere between the third notch and the rusted gate, I got that feeling. Like I wasn't alone anymore. Like something had noticed me. Like it had always been watching and was just now ready to move. The notches in the trees got narrower the higher I climbed. They weren't just random marks. They had rhythm, spaced about every quarter mile. Clean cuts, angled low, knife work, not nature. Someone had made a trail for those who knew what to look for. Sergeant Cline, I thought. This was his path. Somewhere between mile 4 and 5, I found the creek. Curved just like he said, like a question mark. The water was shallow and cloudy, bubbling over broken shale. I followed it until it disappeared under a collapsed tree. Just beyond it, the rusted gate hung from a single post, leaning like it had given up trying to stand. That's when the wind changed. I couldn't hear birds anymore. No bugs, no dripping water, just the wind and the faint sound of chimes somewhere in the rocks. They weren't pretty chimes. They sounded homemade, bottle caps, nails, forks, wire, designed to rattle, not to sing. I froze, He said, "If you hear wind chimes, stop. If you hear nothing at all, pray." So I stopped. The signal was strong now, blasting through the receiver like it was just on the other side of the ridge. I tried not to think about what else might be on the other side. I scanned the slope ahead. Bricks, camouflage netting, a hint of barbed wire between boulders. Then I saw it, the opening, narrow, tight, framed by rock and wrapped in barbed wire. Something was definitely alive inside, and they were already watching me. A shimmer of movement just behind the bricks, a shadow pulling back, a glint of a gun barrel. I put my hands up, didn't speak at first, just let them see me. Backpack slung loose off my shoulder, Glock holstered, nothing twitchy, no sudden moves. Then I said, "Didn't want to spook anybody, just following the rules." I heard the chime, no answer. I could feel the tension coming off the rock. They were deciding whether to shoot me or let me talk. I tried again. "Name's Red. Been listening to your loop for 3 nights now. You're the only thing out here that sounds like it still breathes." Pause. Then a voice, low, commanding, edged with steel. "Back away from the tripwire. Wait for the rope." I did as I was told. They dropped a length of paracord from above, almost like a pulley system. Smart, controlled. Whoever built this place wasn't just surviving. They were planning. I hesitated before tying my gear. Inside that pack was everything I had left. 2 bottles of water, my last protein bar, a small tin of menthol vapes, and a picture I don't talk about. My Glock stayed in the holster, but my knife, I gripped it behind my back for just a second longer than I should have. I didn't know these people, didn't know if they'd shoot me the second the pack was reeled in. But I'd come this far. I was too tired to second guess. So I let it go, tied the knot, gave a tug. They started pulling it up, and I just stood there, heart pounding, feeling the full weight of the silence again. I thought I'd feel relieved by now, but all I felt was afraid. Not of them, of whatever else had followed me this far, because I was sure of it now. Something had come up the mountain with me, and if they didn't let me in, it was going to catch up real soon. The rope stopped moving. For a moment, I thought maybe they'd just take my gear and leave me standing there like a fool. I stared at the narrow slit in the bricks, half convinced a rifle barrel would poke through next. But instead, the wall shifted. Not with sound, not fast, just movement. A hand reached out from behind the bricks, gloved, steady, and peeled back a narrow section just wide enough for a man to squeeze through sideways. No words, just an open gap and a silent invitation. I exhaled and stepped forward. The barbed wire brushing over my shoulder was stained dark. Old blood or rust, maybe both. The ground under my boots gave just slightly, like it had been packed and repacked by men pacing in place. The closer I got to the entrance, the more I could feel the air change, cooler, dry, smelling of sweat, metal, and wet stone. I turned sideways and slid in. The passage was tighter than I thought. Rocks scraping my jacket, brick dust on my arms, the faint clang of something metallic just beyond the wall. I kept my hands raised but close to my chest. It wasn't fear, it was respect. These guys were soldiers, real ones. I could feel it. When I emerged on the other side, the first thing I saw was a man standing dead still, rifle shouldered, aimed dead center on my chest. He didn't say anything, just looked at me like he was counting my breaths. Another man was posted behind a belt-fed M249, eyes flicking between me and the entrance. Behind them, 2 others sat in the shadows, backs to the wall, watching me like wolves. But the one who stepped forward, he was the voice I'd heard on the radio. Todd Cline, battle-worn, face like granite, not a drop of wasted motion in his stance. He looked me over, not scanning, reading, like he'd already made peace with shooting me if he had to. I raised my hands slightly, palms open. "Didn't come here to cause trouble," I said. "Just been listening. Thought maybe it was real." Todd didn't answer right away, just nodded toward a stone bench near the back of the cave. "Sit." I did. He tossed my pack beside me. Everything still inside, untouched. Respect. Someone passed me a protein bar. I peeled it slow, ate it slower. Couldn't tell if it was the cold or the nerves, but my hands wouldn't stop trembling. The cave was dim, just a battery lantern propped in the corner and a faint hum from deeper within. Maybe a generator, maybe something worse. The air was still, but not peaceful. It was watching still. I looked around, tried to speak a few times, ended up just listening. The loop was still playing on their gear. I could hear my own heartbeat timing with the static. "This place," I finally said. I didn't think it would actually be real. Todd didn't say anything, just watched. A long moment passed. Then I asked what had been stuck in my throat since I reached the gate. "You ever feel like something followed you here?" Todd's jaw tightened, just slightly. I didn't push. I reached into my coat and pulled out my notebook. Pages full of frequencies, dates, weak signals that vanished into nothing. I placed it beside my pack. "Yours is the last one that didn't cut out halfway through." He finally looked at it. Didn't touch it, just looked. Someone behind me muttered something I couldn't hear. Then snap. Can rattled. The tripwire. The rattle can trap outside had been triggered. Everyone in the cave locked up. I went cold. Todd gave a silent signal, lights off. The lantern blinked out. Darkness. Immediate. Crushing. I could hear Thomas slide behind the saw. Could hear the two in the back readying their rifles. I slid down the wall until I was crouched low, every part of me screaming to run, knowing I had nowhere to go. Then it started. Breathing. Deep, slow, wet. It was close. Too close. We listened to it inhale, deliberate and steady, like it was tasting the cave air, like it was testing the scent. I pressed my hand over my mouth. No one moved. It exhaled again, low and guttural, almost curious. It knew we were here. It was patient. It had waited. Then it stopped breathing. The silence was worse. It wasn't gone. It was listening. Thomas's finger hovered over the trigger. I could hear the other's breath hitching. Someone whispered a prayer. I leaned toward Todd, my voice barely a breath. "Whatever that is, it followed me, and I meant it. I hadn't seen it, but I felt it. On the trail, in the woods, at the creek. Something big, and now it was here, watching, waiting, and then it screamed. Not a scream like a person, not like an animal. A screech, deep at first, then rising to something twisted and broken and wrong. It was rage. It was hunger. It was coming. And we were trapped in here with whatever had found us.